friends, it's Nick, the ASMR nerd, and today we're checking out the Minecraft RTX beta. What is that, you may ask? Well, it is a ray tracing implementation in Minecraft Bedrock Edition. It is currently only available on PC, and I suspect it will stay that way, at least for the foreseeable future, because it requires an NVIDIA RTX graphics card. So, let's back up for a moment here. What the heck is ray tracing and RTX? Well, it is a way of lighting game worlds, a way of calculating the way lighting effects propagate through a 3D space. And it is much more realistic than techniques that have been used previously. Previous rendering techniques for lighting have used approximations, basically shortcuts and approximations to provide an estimate of what realistic lighting should look like in a 3D space, but by cutting corners and using those approximations, there are a number of artifacts that are introduced that aren't true to life, and a number of effects that can't be effectively replicated using those effects. Ray tracing, or more generally, path tracing, is a true-to-physics way of rendering the way light moves through a space, the way it bounces, the way it's affected by atmospherics, these kinds of things. And so, everything is physically correct, basically. And there are a number of effects that can be produced that are just impossible or very, very difficult using traditional rendering techniques. So that's sort of the basic explanation of what ray tracing or path tracing is. The Minecraft RTX beta implements these effects using RT cores on NVIDIA's RTX lineup of graphics cards. So, I am running this on an RTX 2060, which is the least powerful RTX graphics card available. And I'm running it at 1440p resolution. There is actually another piece of technology at use here, or at work here, which is pretty interesting, and that is DLSS 2.0, which is an upscaling algorithm that dynamically takes a lower resolution rendered scene and upscales it for output on your screen. Quite different from NVIDIA's DLSS 1 implementation, and I'm not going to go into detail about it here, but basically my GPU is rendering this internally at 1080p and then upscaling to 1440p using the DLSS 2.0 algorithms, and I think it does a pretty darn good job of it. But you can see that even with that, even rendering at 1080p upscaling to 1440p, my frame rates are not spectacular. I'm getting sort of 34, 35 FPS in this particular test room. So what I'd like to do here today is check out some of the test maps, test worlds that have been put out with this RTX beta release. NVIDIA and Mojang got some Minecraft community members to basically build maps to showcase RTX effects. And this particular map that we're in right now is kind of the most sterile of them. It showcases a lot of effects in these sort of setup scenes, which we'll go through in a moment, so you can really get an appreciation for the kind of effects that ray tracing enables in Minecraft. And then after this map, I think we'll jump into something that's a little bit more sort of gameplay oriented and organic, something a little prettier, more artistic, and just wander around to check it out. So I've poked around in these maps a little bit, but not a lot. So some of this stuff I'll be seeing for the first time with you guys. So right off the bat, you can see in this room, we've got some interesting ray tracing effects taking place here. This giant Minecraft logo is made out of colored emissive blocks, which are appropriately lighting all the geometry around them, and of course are reflected accurately in the shiny surface of the floor here. Alongside these maps, NVIDIA also put out a resource pack that has a number of physically based textures or surfaces which are designed to interact realistically with the new RTX lighting. Some of these are higher resolution, like these bricks, as you can tell. And there's this kind of shiny dark oak, polished dark oak you can see around the baseboard here. Whereas others are just the old, the regular Minecraft default textures, but just, again, upgraded to use, PBR. So anyway, we'll see some of both as we carry on through, but let's start off with Zone 1, which is designed to show off global illumination. Yeah, here you can see what I mean, like this high-res texture here, and low-res original texture there. Okay, so what we're seeing here is a light coming down from above. I believe the time in the game is set to noon by default, but you can see these light shafts that are coming down, and then the light from them is being reflected about the room to ambiently light this space. We can also see reflections of the lighting that's cast in this this polished wood at the bottom of the wall, the base of the wall. So one of the cool things about ray tracing or path tracing is, the bouncing of light. And so you can see that these emissive blocks here are glowing, basically. They are outputting light of their specific color. And then those the rays of light that are coming out of those emissive blocks are basically moving out into the room, and they're bouncing 8 times each. That is, I believe, how this particular path tracing implementation is set up. So each ray of light bounces off 8 surfaces, and so you can see that they are all accurately reflected in this mirror wall over here. Not only are the emissive blocks accurately reflected, reflected, but their reflections in the floor, which is behind me, are also accurately reflected. You can see that my video card, my poor RTX 2060, does not like this scene very much, and I'm averaging kind of 25, 26 frames per second, somewhere in there. You can see the colored light is being cast up above and accurately blended as well. And of course is reflecting in the floor here, this sort of marble-ish texture, or it's more granite, I guess. It really doesn't like this scene. I'm pulling about 18 frames per second there. Many of the areas are better in terms of performance, and do bear in mind that there's some frame rate impact due to the overhead of recording this as well. So that's pretty cool. This next room here features a number of lamps and light sources. These areas are lit from above by natural lighting, but they are also emitting their own light on these wooden surfaces surrounding them. And I believe that we can interact with these. There we go. And you can see how... can we close that? There we go. How the lighting on the wall changes based on whether that's open or closed. You might notice there's a bit of what looks like ghosting. There's a sort of temporal artifacts where shadows and lighting seem to take a few moments to update, and that is because the way the ray tracing is calculated and rendered is in fact temporal. It takes information from preceding frames to calculate the lighting, and I believe to smooth it as well, which allows them to get away with casting fewer rays, basically, by reusing information from previous frames. But it does mean that when things are moving or changing, it takes a couple frames for the renderer to catch up. So you can see these lights are accurately reflected in the glass here. I suspect that if we went over here, let's say, do that. Yeah, so that's reflected over there in the window. And then if we were to close it, you can see that it properly reflects the light coming through the trapdoor. I am no expert when it comes to 3D graphics or rendering techniques or anything like that. Some of you may be. So there's a lot going on here that I probably can't appreciate in terms of, the fidelity of the light and all the crazy effects going on. In some ways, you look at it and you say, well, yeah, that looks good, that looks very real. But so do other modern games that don't implement ray tracing. And that's fair. The graphics technology has developed really, really clever ways of approximating and estimating realistic lighting without using path tracing, over the history of 3D graphics. But there's a number of things that simply can't be done using traditional rasterized lighting techniques, and just does better. Let's try setting the time here. So you can see we no longer have those light shafts coming down from outside. Let's carry on to whatever's next here. Oh, so now the light's coming in from over here. It should be properly lighting this space here. These banners here are swaying gently, and I would guess that, yeah, the shadow on the wall subtly reflects the motion of this banner. That's pretty cool. Also, soft shadowing is something that our RTX or ray tracing, path tracing does very well. You get realistic soft shadowing based on the distance of the object from the light source and these sorts of things. Effects like that are very difficult to do using traditional rasterized lighting. That's my understanding, anyway. Build your own lamp. Construction zone. Open your creative menu. So I'm not gonna do that right now just because I have the interface turned off for the sake of showing things off here, but what's this here? You can set the time. Let's try this one. Okay, so now we've got light coming in over here. Casting properly lit patches on the floor, which are then reflected in surrounding surfaces, even when they're behind us. So one of the great advantages, as I understand it, of ray tracing, path tracing, is that, and I keep saying ray tracing, path tracing is the more proper term for what's being used here, and it's a more generalized implementation of ray tracing. That's as I understand it. But one of the big advantages of path tracing is the ability to properly render lighting of things that are off screen. So many contemporary rasterized lighting techniques rely on what they call, I guess, screen space effects, which only have knowledge about what is currently in your viewport, your field of view. And again, I'm no 3D graphics expert here, but this is my layman's understanding. And so when there are things that are off screen, say behind you, or out of scene, it's really challenging and resource intensive to render those as proper reflections, or to have their shadows or lighting properly impact your scene. Whereas that sort of happens automatically with path tracing, just by virtue of the way the lighting calculations take place, bouncing like these rays all around your environment. I guess they're happening whether you're looking at them or not. Anyway, let's head back to the lobby. Let's head over this way. Zone 2 is underwater effects. in some ways that NVIDIA chose Minecraft as a showcase for ray tracing tech. But in some ways it makes a lot of sense because this fish seems so confused. What's up, guy? Maybe he's just having fun. In some ways it makes sense to me because of the blocky nature of Minecraft. It really allows these effects to be quite apparent. The sort of cubic nature of the graphics means that you can see a lot of these effects more readily, whereas something with more complex geometry, it might sort of hide the effects or make them a bit more subtle. Look at this very, very smooth floor. You can see, of course, all the lights in the ceiling behind me accurately reflected in the glass of this terrarium ahead of us. That's the kind of reflection that I don't think is possible using current rasterized lighting techniques and the approximations therein. Or if it is possible, it's got to be sort of cheated with some kind of cube map reflection. And if you were to do something to these lights, it wouldn't update dynamically. That's my understanding. There's all kinds of smoke and mirrors that are used in these sort of approximated lighting techniques, and you just don't have those when you're ray tracing like this. Everything is physically accurate, rendered as it would in the real world, with limitations, of course, as I explained. Each light ray bounces only 8 times, which, is a lot from a computational perspective, but, in real life, they bounce infinite times forward until they're absorbed, I guess, But, so there are some things that are still not rendered 100% accurately. Then there's the temporal artifacts. Oops. I didn't mean to. I must have stepped on a pressure plate. Let's just go back. So there are still shortcuts and limitations that have to be factored in for performance reasons. But generally speaking, it's a much more accurate representation of the way light propagates through space in the real world. We've got kind of a 360. Oh, hello, Mr. Squid. A 360 aquarium situation here. Everything being accurately lit and colored by whatever the light is passing through. Okay, let's head back. Okay, next up, let's check out 3 room examples. So this area, I took a quick look at it earlier, has sample rooms that are designed to sort of show off these effects in a more natural, sort of artistic way, I guess. So for this room, they recommend setting the time to noon. Let's do that. So this is kind of similar to what we saw before, but it looks like this aquarium is lit by natural outside light that's coming down through the water and then indirectly spilling through this window and lighting this room. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? But in addition to that indirect light source, we also have some lamps in the ceiling, which are casting their own light on this wall, and are of course illuminating the floor and all that. And then these potion stands are emissive as well, and you can see their own light being reflected on the base there. But blending with the natural light, the indirect light coming in from the aquarium. It's really lovely. Got some chests and such up on the wall. What's over here? It says set time to 100 is recommended. I'm not sure what time 100 is. I think that's early morning, maybe. Okay. Oh, wow. Right, so we've got like a subway situation here, a subway station. And the light that's just pouring in from the far end is from, the sun low in the sky, it looks like. We've got a lot of colored emissive lights here being accurately reflected in all these polished stone surfaces. And then we've got this lighting here as well. Glass railings. And beyond just the, the bounce lighting and all that, we've also got what looks like normal mapping on a lot of these surfaces, like this textured stone here. This is like overwhelmingly bright. There we are. This is a glass window, but look, you can still see all those lights behind us reflected in this glass window. Very cool. I didn't really want to come back here. There were still rooms we hadn't seen yet. So I'm pretty sure this one here is just the other side. Yeah. The other side of that subway station. So you can see actually when we walk in here, the light actually isn't coming in from that far window, but when we step up here, suddenly it appears. That's because the ray tracing only renders at an 8-chunk distance currently. I believe you can increase that. There is a slider for that in the options in the RTX beta here, but that dramatically increases the number of calculations that have to be done, and the performance goes down accordingly. So considering that I'm running on the minimum spec card for this technology, the RTX 2060, I don't think I'm going to push my luck. I'm already just barely pulling 30 FPS right now, for example, so, or less in some cases. If you had an RTX RTX 2080 Ti, you might be able to turn up the chunk render distance a bit. You know, the RTX render distance. This is very pretty. They recommend setting the time to 2000, so let's do that here. So that changed the time of day a little bit. The sun's a little higher in the sky. Look at this beautiful soft shadow that's being cast by this flower pot here. That kind of thing is very hard to do without using ray tracing. Light shafts coming in the windows, but also these lamps lighting the area around them realistically. Gorgeous wood grain in this texture pack, or resource pack. The combination of the OG Minecraft textures with the high res is kind of interesting. It'll be amazing to see what this looks like when somebody creates a complete resource pack with these PBR ready high res textures and gets that into the RTX edition here. Now, I should point out that there have been hobbyists, notably Sonic Ether of Sonic Ether's Unbelievable Shaders, who have created their own path tracing and global illumination solutions for Java edition of Minecraft. And they are doing many similar kinds of things. They are not accelerated by the RT cores on RTX cards, but rather they are a generic implementation of path tracing and global illumination that can run on any video card. And I have featured those in some of my videos in past. And they look pretty impressive, but I don't believe they are doing as much as this RTX implementation. And also, they come at a significant performance hit because they're not using the fixed function ray tracing hardware, the RT cores. But they are still really, really impressive, honestly. I'm not sure on like a feature-by-feature basis what this RTX implementation or ray tracing implementation is using, or what kind of effects it is applying that, like say Sonic Ether's is not. But I can say just from a visual perspective, having tested them both out here, this is more impressive in terms of its accuracy and realism. Which again isn't to detract from what Sonic Ether has done with his shaders. The fact that those run on any hardware is amazing. They don't need RT cores. And honestly, the performance between the two is pretty similar, at least on my system. What have we got here? Oh man. Oh, this is some kind of House of Mirrors situation. So you can just barely make out that there's a mirror here. You can sort of see it. But I can't go any further than this. There's a mirror wall there, and then over here, there's a mirror wall. And it looks like over here, there is too. But this sort of infinite regression, infinite reflection mirror situation, again, as I understand it, is pretty much impossible without using path tracing. see if I could. No, I guess I can't. Can I punch a block here? Oh, I can. Okay. So, I haven't really been interacting with scenes much. We've just been looking at things, but, you know, the most impressive thing here, of course, is that all of this updates in real time, and propagates through all the reflections. So you can see those blocks that I just destroyed are visible there. Now, I bet you, let's go down. Let's just break some lights. You can see there's a little phantom shadow that remains for a few seconds after I destroy the light blocks. Again, that is due to the temporal nature of the ray tracing, which is for performance reasons. So let's see, if I destroy all these lights, what happens? What does this room look like? Because these are the only light sources in this room. There are no windows, right? So right now, all the light is coming from here. And then also whatever indirect light might be coming in from outside there. Oh no, I'm lying. Of course, there's light coming from the floor. There's tons of light coming from the floor, so this will not make the room fully dark. But interesting. I kind of want to just go through here now and just take out all the lighting and see what happens. Oops, there goes a piece of the mirror. Oh gosh. Are we at the wall yet? I don't think so. There. It's definitely getting darker in here now. Got a few more rows to go here. I probably could have picked an easier room to do this in. Where there were fewer light sources. But this is a very dramatic demonstration because of all the mirrors, right? We'll be able to see the ambient nature of this light. Now, it might be a little weird in these windows, or these mirrors, because of the 8 chunk render distance. So I think we're still going to have in the distance some of that fogging, which is pretty much unavoidable. But maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, so it's pretty much totally dark in here now. We have a little bit of ambient light coming in through, oops, from the hallway. And then we do run into the limits of our RT rendering, where we still have sort of light in the distance, but still pretty cool. Let's check out over here. So this room is lit entirely by lava. And also it looks like these ore blocks are lightly emissive. You can see them reflected in the stone. I don't know if I can place blocks. I probably can, but again I have the interface turned off, so these other rooms though and remove some of the lighting sources. See how it affects things. Let's do this bedroom. I don't think I can close these windows, but we can get rid of the lamps. The ceiling. You can see the lighting slowly fading away as the rays bounce. There, now it's kind of caught up. But that dramatically alters the look of the room, doesn't it? Now all the lighting that's coming in is indirect from the outside, realistically illuminating the room. Super duper cool. Okay. So let's head back to the lobby. So there's one more space left that we can check out in this world, and that is the game example, the light and color manipulation area. Now I did check this out before, and actually, well, we can go take a quick look, but it's cool, but I found it very challenging. This first part not so much, but after this first part, because you have to be able to distinguish colors. You have to mix colors by filtering light through colored blocks of glass. And as some of you may know, I'm colorblind. And so that was really challenging for me. So I don't think we'll do that part, but we can do this part. Which, as near as I can tell, is just stepping on the pressure plates that are illuminated. Now this one, I guess, is illuminated, yeah, from up there. So that turns the light off on it, and then this one is illuminated from there. The pressure plate casting a shadow accurately. We're trying to get the door to the next chamber open. That's over there. Where is the next pressure plate? I wonder if this is randomized. Because the first time I came through here, I think it was different pressure plates that were illuminated. No. Where's the next one? I'm not seeing it. Oh, it's way over there. Maybe it's not randomized. Maybe it does the same pattern every time. I'm not sure. Kinda got a sprint jump. Whoops. That was not right. Okay. Sprint. There. Sprint. Now that one over there. Yeah, I think this is the same order. This is just meant as an example of how you can use this, these lighting effects in a puzzle scenario. There we go. So we unlock the next chamber. Jump too late. How do I escape? Where are those stairs? It's cool down here though. All these emissive blocks reflected in the water. new space that's opened up is accurately reflected in this granite surface. So this is the area I was talking about, where these, you basically bring light in through these colored glass blocks, and you blend the light to create colors on the floor. But, yeah, I found it very difficult because of my color blindness, so I'm not going to bother with that here. But I just wanted to show you some of the interesting gameplay implementations of the lighting techniques. So let's head back to the lobby. So, there's a few other worlds, 6 in total, actually, that are available for download with the RTX beta, and I think we'll go check out another one of them now to see what all these effects look like implemented in a more kind of artistic and natural looking fashion, rather than in these test chambers. So let's go take a look at that. So here we are at the beginning of the aquatic adventure map that's available as a download with this RTX beta, and this is a survival adventure map that actually has some puzzle solving and things like that. I have not done that. I've just poked around a tiny bit, and I don't think we'll actually do any of that today. The actual puzzle solving, but I just wanted to show it off because I think it has some of the most impressive effects here. It is really gorgeous, and also it hammers my video card. I do apologize, I don't know the name of the community member, the creator that made this map. But they did a pretty amazing job of it. Can I get up? I can. I guess I have a water breathing potion, which is why I can breathe underwater. I guess I can't get up on top there, but anyway, one thing I wanted to show you was the way the light the water bends the light. Now you can see it looks like that stuff's just below the surface, but then when you get below the water, you see it's actually further down than it appeared. Just like real water bends light. These beautiful God rays, I guess you call them, coming down from above. Don't know what the point of that is. But so let's head forward. I believe there's a giant temple up this way. That is a really amazing piece of work. It's all so lovely. Can't see it yet. It's interesting. The bottom of the ocean is actually reflected at certain angles in the underside of the surface, which is really interesting. I'm not sure if that's how reflections work in real life or not. There it is, this gorgeous temple. potions work IRL. Sounds a little silly, but it's totally true. Isn't that amazing? All these bubbles from the water-breathing potion are a little on the annoying side. It's just gonna take us down there. So some of you might also be thinking, so there are already shaders that do stuff that looks kind of like this. For Minecraft, there have been for a long time these shader packs created by the community. And again, many of them are really good, really beautiful, but with the exception of Sonic Ether's PTGI, and I believe also later iterations of Silder's shader pack, with those aside, the other shader packs are all using traditional rasterized lighting techniques. I believe Sonic Ethers and Silders are the only ones that use any kind of path tracing calculations. So, the lighting, of course, is not realistic in the same way. Many of the effects are not present that you see here in most Minecraft shader packs. Gosh, my FPS really suffers here. I think we're about to come out into an airspace again. Yeah. Pretty incredible though, isn't it? I'm sure you've noticed, but you can see all my render information as well as FPS up at the top of the screen. I didn't point that out at the beginning, but you've probably figured that out by now. So what's all this here? Oh. A big scary hole. I guess we go down. I don't know, let's see what's in there. Oh wow. Huh. Okay. So, this kind of technology, this ray tracing, path tracing technology, is going to be available in next generation consoles, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I love the way the indirect lighting lights these sort of stepped ceilings. It won't be exactly this implementation because this again uses NVIDIA's RT cores in their RTX series graphics cards, whereas the next gen consoles are going to use some kind of custom GPU designed from AMD, and we don't know what its hardware accelerated ray tracing is going to be like or capable of. I suspect we will find out later this year, but monument that way, it says. Sure, let's go that way. So I guess Minecraft RTX will be exclusive to PC. This is really pretty. RTX. This is a very chest lit from above. What could be in here? Literally nothing. That's a bit of a letdown. Maybe you have to do something to enable or to make something spawn in there. I don't know. Maybe it's part of the puzzle. Also worth noting that NVIDIA's next generation of GeForce cards, the 3000 series, will presumably be launching later in 2020. That's what the rumor mill suggests. And it's a dark little alcove. This is a good example of how light propagates into spaces. There's no direct lighting in here. This is all just bounce lighting. It's bouncing from out here, so there's some kind of light source in these alcoves and in the ceiling, I guess, and it's coming down, bouncing off these walls, off the floor, bouncing through and into here. So this very faint illumination in here is the, distal bounces, sort of 6, 7, 8 bounces coming from these light sources out here. These rays. Anyway, NVIDIA's GeForce 3000 series, I suspect the RTX 3000 series cards will be significantly beefed up with regards to their ray tracing capabilities. So, well, this is not running that great on my RTX 2060. Well, right now we're getting about 45 FPS, which is actually pretty decent compared to what we've been seeing. It's quite playable. Yeah, I think the next gen cards from NVIDIA will go hard on ray tracing hardware acceleration. Need a hint to step onto the pressure plates. Well, I'm not too concerned about that right now because I'm not really trying to solve these puzzles. I'm just looking around. It gets very dark in here. It'll be very interesting to see what the ray tracing capabilities of the next gen consoles are, and if Minecraft RTX can be made to work on the Xbox Series X hardware using whatever hardware accelerated ray tracing solution AMD has cooked up for that thing. I would be surprised if Microsoft invested the development resources into creating a Minecraft RTX with NVIDIA if they didn't also think they could get it working on their next gen console. I suspect a lot of this stuff can be, or is kind of generic through the XR ray tracing API. I don't know if that's the proper terminology, but it will be available in a more generic way, and doesn't have to be exclusively run on NVIDIA's RT cores, or at least won't have to be. Although right now it is. This is interesting, the way the lighting kind of smears below this block. The reflections get very smeary. I don't know what causes that. Again, something about the temporal nature of the path tracing, the rays, and the denoising. This is pretty lovely though, isn't it? You can see the limits of the rendering over there. Just the way that ship is reflected in the floor here is amazing. This is incredible though. Just beautiful. Anyhow, I guess we'd better wrap this up. This is getting to be a fairly long video, but I wanted to do this because this Minecraft RTX beta just launched just before the time of filming here, and I asked on social media if you guys would be interested in a video like this, and you all said absolutely yes. So I know this has been a little bit more technical in sort of the discussions and such than my typical Minecraft videos, which are usually more like survival based, but given that this is essentially a technology showcase, I thought it would be fun to show off what exactly it's capable of. It's a little taste of the next generation of graphics technology, which we will see being developed in next-gen consoles even further, and it's pretty tantalizing, I have to say. Now, obviously the performance hit is substantial, it's pretty enormous, and the hardware that can run this kind of stuff is pretty limited right now. But moving ahead, that'll change, and I suspect that, again, next-gen NVIDIA RTX cards will probably be able to run this sort of thing at solid 60 FPS without too much issue. Probably even the RTX 3060, I would guess. So it's an interesting taste of what is to come. It's a very forward-looking tech demo. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you found this informative and interesting. And if you have things to say about it, questions or thoughts, or maybe corrections about things I've said here, please feel free to share it down in the comments. Again, I am no graphics rendering expert. This is all just what I've picked up from a bit of reading and watching some YouTube content. Digital Foundry actually is a really great resource if you want to see more of these effects in action and learn more about what's going on here. Sort of the details of this tech. Digital Foundry has some great videos on it that go into quite a bit of detail explaining what's going on with the technology. So I encourage you to check those out. Alrighty, thank you again for watching. And I do hope you found this relaxing, since that's really ultimately the goal here. And I look very forward